Hey guys, I'm back today with another tutorial today on how I completely crafted an entire prop in less than 48 hours for MomoCon. Yes, I have problems. We're not going to talk about that. This was a spur of the moment thing. I didn't really like how I felt with Keyleth just kind of walking around without a prop, and I wanted a prop that would have a dual purpose that I could use for another cosplay. I love making props, but it sometimes really is annoying when you create this really nice prop and you can only ever use it for one cosplay because it's so specific. So for this, I specifically wanted to make a prop that I could use for at least 2 cosplays, if not more. Because it is a generic World of Warcraft prop, I can essentially use it for any character that I ever create that has to use an outfit that requires like a staff weapon. So that's what this is. I hope it makes any sense at all. This is kind of chaotic and rushed, but this is how I made my Arden Wield staff. I started with a 3/4 inch PVC pipe. This one's one of the heavy duty ones because that's the kind I prefer. It makes sure all my props are really stable. I then sat there with my reference photo and double checked where all of my marks needed to be for the main curves of the prop. From there, I proceeded to slowly heat up my PVC using a heat gun. Please note this is very hot when you do it. It's also potentially very dangerous. I had all the windows open when I did this, and I also had oven mitts, so I didn't burn myself. So just keep that in mind. Because I'm using the heavy-duty PVC pipe, this does in fact make it much harder in order to heat shape it. This is something that I know going into it, but just keep that in mind when you're creating your own thing. If you want to have it be easier to mold, use a thinner pipe. In order to keep the shape of the curve, you have to let the item fully cool or else it will start warping back into shape or it could flop to the side depending on how you're holding it. That was an issue that I had when I first started doing my curves, is that I had to go back and really make sure that my bends hadn't warped the whole pipe itself, which it had. So then I had to sit there and slowly flatten it using my countertop as a level. From there, I used my 5mm foam in order to completely cover the entire thing in a very base layer so that I had the general shape that I could use to create and add on all the additional details. This is entirely just contact cemented to the thing, and then I dremeled it down to make it as smooth as possible. Again, because I was trying to make this as quickly as possible, patching wasn't 100% an option, so we'll get to that in a minute. Using paper that I had laying around, I took my PVC pipe, sketched out a base shape of it, as well as all of the additional pieces that I would eventually have to create to attach onto it. All of my additional foam creations are 10mm foam. I did in fact remove some of them from the end design because I thought it looked a little bit too busy, and also because my staff is much shorter than what they would have had in game. I didn't have as much length as I would have needed to add all the details without it looking as cluttered. From there, I cut out my paper patterns, traced it onto my foam, and proceeded to start cutting out my foam. I made sure to have 3 duplicates of every single shape so that it would have a really nice thickness once I dremeled it down, because again, all of this has to be really smooth. It has to look like wood, tree limbs, that kind of shape. I didn't get this on camera because I have to go outside to Dremel, but essentially all you do is you take an X-Acto knife or a box cutter and you shave it down as well as you can so that it's roughly the shape that you need, and then you just go crazy with a Dremel with it. I then sat there with my Dremel and just carved out grooves and stuff to really mimic that bark shape. Because time was an issue, and also because I have way too much brown paint and just need to use it up, I didn't prime this at all. I just went straight to painting. It only took about 3 coats of brown paint, which is actually pretty on par for anything that I do because I'm using acrylic paint. And then I went over the entire thing with a black wash to make those grooves and lines really, really pop. For the branches, most of them had this really nice green detail that I went over and then began feathering a darker green so it had like a nice gradual. It's not perfect. Of course, if you have like an airbrush or something, it's going to look a lot better, but I'm working with what I have here. I personally think that the feathering turned out really, really well. I also used a darker green to go over that so it would also not be quite as bright. I still wanted it to have that nice worn look, but still have that really pretty green. To create the central detail of this nice little swirly, I literally just cut it out of craft foam. That was it. It's hot glued in, it's cut out of craft foam. To create all of the little spiderweb textures, I found this really pretty garland that has like these little tiny gems. It's pretty, it sparkles, I love it. The fabric that I have was just some that I had laying around, and then the flowers were some that I purchased off Amazon last minute. But yeah, that's essentially it. All of the details are hot glued on. I choose chaos if you can't tell. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. This was a lot of fun to make, and I can't wait to see how it looks with the Ysera once I wear that at Dragon Con again. Yep, that's it. I'm gonna go back to playing Tears of the Kingdom. Bye.